this is where I started and this is where I am now. Because people now, there are so many blogs that are started literally every minute, and you have to find a way to make yourself stand out. And if you're in a, sort of a general food blog like I am, I'm not very niche down. I'm just, everything is there. I don't have just desserts or, whatever. You have to find a way to make yourself stand out from that huge crowd. And I think great photos are a great way to do that.
That was Amanda Batcher, and this is episode number 154 of the Chopped Podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley. I'm your host, and this is the Chopped Podcast. This is the podcast designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. Every week, my goal is to share with you thoughts, stories, interviews, everything to do with food blogging so we can all learn together about what works with food blogging and maybe even a little bit about what doesn't. So here we are in February. I don't know about you, but I feel like January just went by in a flash. I think some of that might be because we're still recovering from a search engine optimization audit that we had on Namely Marley. And so I have a lot of tedious things that I have to get done on the site. And, it's all part of the process. So it's all good. It's just made things busy. I've also kind of rededicated myself to my food blogging processes. I don't know if you listened to episode number 141, where I share basically the process I go through for creating recipes. And so I've kind of transformed that a little bit, and I'm creating what I call recipe weeks. That's where I spend an entire week really researching the recipe, drawing it out, writing it, testing it, and then shooting it. And that way, actually, we do that for a month's worth of recipes at a time. And that way I'm working ahead. I have to confess, it does make that week a little bit stressful. I have to do some really creative things to make that week fun. But what I really love is the moment that it's done. And then I have a whole month's worth of content at the ready for myself. I have a spreadsheet where I track all of that. And so I have some formulas put in there that actually calculates the % done I am for the month. So if I'm doing 10 recipes or 11 recipes, I can kind of input that in, and then it'll just track. I have like 4 things I want to do for every recipe. And then it tracks those 4 things, and I will know, my 100% done, or I'm 30% done, I'm 20% done, whatever. But I have to admit, when I get to that point where I can click the last yes and it says 100% done, that is a good moment, and it feels really freeing and good. So now, my Sean and I are getting ready to go visit his parents, and it's just really great to know that I just have all this great content to draw on. And I don't know, I'm really excited about it. And I hope it's something that I continue, because you know how it goes. You get these great processes, and then the really hard thing, I think, is following through on that and making sure that you continue with that. So that's where I'm at. I'm really happy to be at this spot. And, I guess because I'm so happy, I really hope that you're feeling that happiness too. Speaking of happy places, in January, we ran a little giveaway for the Chopped Podcast. And today is the day that we're sharing the results. So people who participated in the giveaway, they either joined the Chopped Blogger Facebook group, they left a review of this podcast on iTunes, or they joined the Chopped newsletter. And so those are the 3 ways that they were able to participate. And I was so excited to have so many of you participating in the giveaway. It was a lot of fun. I'm giving away 2 books, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat by Samin Nosrat, and The Best Food Writing of 2017. So let's go through it. I'm just going to tell you the winners right now. The winner of Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat is Myra Highland Sampson. She's of the site Delicious on a Dime. And the winner of Food Writing 2017, the winner of Best Food Writing of 2017 is Kathy Brock of Kathy's Gluten Free. Congratulations to you both. I'm going to be in touch with you via email to get you information on how to get your book. And thanks to everyone who participated. It really was a lot of fun hearing from you, and I'm sure we're going to be doing more giveaways in the future, so stay tuned. One more thing before today's show. If you're trying to up your Pinterest game, you will definitely want to check out the Chopped Academy Pinterest course. It's full of videos showing how food bloggers can use Pinterest to increase traffic, engagement, and more. I know for my site, Pinterest has been a huge source of traffic, and I love watching how other food bloggers use Pinterest. Just even in the designing and creation of this course myself, it was so great to see confirmation of some of the things that I'm already doing, and then tweaks and learning new things of ways I could be doing things differently. I love it. It's really been a great resource for me, so I highly recommend it. If you're interested in this course, we have a discount going on right now. Just go to chopped.academy and click on courses and select the Pinterest course, and you'll see that we're offering the course at a discount. And so I'm so excited for that, and be sure to go and sign up today. Okay, on to today's show. Today's guest is Amanda Batcher. She's with the site The Chunky Chef and The 5 O'Clock Chef. I know, she has 2 sites. Is that crazy or what? Of course, I know how that goes because I kind of have 2 sites too, but it's a lot of work doing 2 sites and 2 recipe sites even. Amazing. So I mentioned in the Chopped Blogger group that I was going to be interviewing Amanda, and I received so many great questions and ideas of topics to go into. So thank you so much for everybody in the Chopped Blogger group. If you ever have ideas that you want to suggest for people to interview or questions to ask, feel free to join the Top Blogger group yourself and suggest them there. Or you can send me an email. That's fine too. I'm Marley at chopped.academy. I'd be happy to hear from you. But Amanda we're friends on Facebook, and I'm so excited to see she hit a huge milestone recently. 2 million page views per month on The Chunky Chef. How impressive is that? And so I reached out to her and said, hey, I'd love to have you on the podcast. She agreed, and we had this great conversation. And I love Amanda's style. She's very much what I'd call a bootstrapping kind of blogger. She taught herself food photography, and she just learned it through experimentation. I think she said she had a couple of books as well. And just a lot of things that she's just done to kind of connect with other bloggers, to kind of learn some of the tricks of the trade. She's used a lot of, we talked about search engine optimization. We also talk about revenue streams and diversifying those, and how important that is, just to have some, I don't know, maybe some peace of mind as basically you're like a freelancer as a food blogger, because you're never able to really predict your income unless you can, secure your traffic, or, really diversifying your income and having different revenue streams is really a great way to kind of feel security in your income going forward. So Amanda and I talked about that a little bit as well. So if you've dreamed of making food blogging your full-time gig, today's episode will be so full of inspiration. And that's what we need to get through the hard times, because there are some tough days and you kind of wonder what's going on here. So hearing from people who've actually been through it and they're on the other side and things are going so well for them can really just be such a great source of inspiration to keep you going. I love Amanda's no nonsense style. She just says it as it is, and I love that. I think you will too. So let's get straight to it. Here's today's feature interview with Amanda Batcher. Hey everyone, I'm happy to have Amanda Batcher. She's of the site The Chunky Chef and The 5 O'Clock Chef, and she is on the show today. Hey Amanda, welcome to the Top Podcast.
Hi Marley, thanks so much for having me.
I'm so glad to have you here. You are one of these people that, we're friends on Facebook. And when I saw that you made this huge goal, and we're going to be talking all about that here in a moment, a huge blogging goal, I just thought, oh my God, I got to have you on the podcast. So I'm really happy to have you here.
Same here. I feel like I'm one of those long time listener, first time caller people, because I listen to the podcast all the time.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. It makes me happy. So we have so much to get into today, but before I get into all that, I just don't want to forget just to ask you this very initial question. And that is, I imagine that The Chunky Chef was first. And so if you could tell us a little bit about why you started that site.
Yeah. I started The Chunky Chef back in 2014 in October. And it was actually at that time, it was My Adventures in Dinner Time. Yeah. And then that's what you called it? Yeah, that's what it was called originally. It was on the WordPress.com, so it was not self-hosted. And then I switched over in December to be The Chunky Chef. But I was sharing a lot of my creations on Facebook, just with my family and friends. And some family members said, hey, you should start a food blog. And I didn't really even know what one was. So I started doing some research, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I can just catalog my recipes. And I did that and realized, hey, I really love this. And this is like a whole industry that I could just dive headfirst into. And I just kind of went with it.
That is so cool. I know people who do that on Facebook. They share their recipes, and they show different steps along the way, and they get a lot of people that are interacting with them. And I imagine, it's easy from that perspective to think I should turn this into a blog.
Right. Because I mean, people love looking at gorgeous food, and people, they have to feed their families. So they're interested in how people are doing that.
Yes, I think the trick probably is taking it from how do I take this from people I know to a broader audience.
Yeah. And it's scary, to put yourself out there, because I'm a huge introvert. I mean, I am like I should live in a lighthouse, like introvert person. And so like me being, hey, like this is my whole site and this is my story and my pictures that I'm taking, I was really, really nervous to hit publish that first time.
Oh, I know. I've been there too. Like, and then I like read and reread and then, stressed over some of those earlier posts. And then are you still like that today now? Is it easier to hit publish?
It is, unless I'm like sharing a lot of personal information, because usually I don't. There's like maybe a couple sentences and then I kind of get into the food. But yeah, there's been a couple of posts where I've shared more personal stuff. I'm like, oh, should I do this? Maybe I should not.
Yes. Exactly. And so I don't know if you're interested in sharing what was your original goal with, like, when you first started it sounds like it was kind of more hobby. But you also realized it could turn into a business. Was there a moment where you're like, I can totally do this?
Yeah, I think it was about a month in. It was when I was submitting my recipes to a lot of link parties, which I don't even know if there still are link parties anymore.
I don't know.
That sounds bad, but I don't even remember. But I was doing that, and I was getting picked for, the featured sections and stuff, and people really liked them. I'm like, this isn't that bad. Like people are liking what I'm doing and I really enjoy it. I seem to be good at it. So I'm just going to go for it. And if I don't make it, then oh well.
Oh, that's great. And to get those, I don't know, I guess it's like, it's early feedback, right? Letting you know that you're on the right path, I guess. It really does make a big difference.
Yeah. Cause I look at my photos and at the time they were awful. I mean, truly terrible, but I thought they were great, but I figured no one else is going to like these, people are going to compare them to, Sally's Baking Addiction and all these great sites. But people liked them. I was surprised.
And so you think it was the recipes they were liking then more so than the photos themselves?
I think so. I mean, it would have to be almost because the beginning ones were so terrible. I mean,
I feel like it's a rite of passage of every food blogger. They have to go through this phase where they're like, they like their photos and then they realize how much more they have to improve.
Yeah. It's like, what was I thinking? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. I really thought that was cool. And now, like I had some catty cornered, like I thought that was really, authentic and cool, but yeah. Those have to go away. So what about, cooking? Then let's talk about your recipes. Where did you just have a passion for cooking? Where did that come from for you?
It's kind of a crazy story. I grew up, here in Ohio, and my mom is a fantastic cook. My grandma's a fantastic, everybody is. And for some reason growing up, I just had zero interest in it. Like my mom was trying to get me to come out in the kitchen and, let's bake some cookies. And I would just go eat the dough and then leave. Like I didn't want, didn't want anything to do with it. And then I went and moved in with my boyfriend, who's my husband now. And I realized, okay, I can cook like nothing. I mean, I could boil pasta and add a jar to it of sauce, and that's about all I can do. I was like, I better fix this. So I found myself in between jobs, and I did what a lot of people do when they're unemployed. They watch TV, and I found the Food Network, and I started watching Rachel Ray, and she was so down to earth and like, oh look, my garlic just flew across the counter. Oh well, like it was just very like I felt like she could be my neighbor.
Yeah.
And I thought, what, I'm just going to try it. And if it's terrible, there's a Wendy's right up the street, so we're not going to starve. And it was actually not bad. And I, started liking it more and more. And now it's just this huge passion.
I think that's such a great point to make, because I do feel like sometimes there's pressure as a food blogger, like maybe it's important to be a chef of some kind or have some, professional training. And yet when we look at somebody like Rachel Ray, she is a great example of how she made cooking feel doable for so many people. And that's a role a lot of us can fill.
Yeah. Cause I mean, there's so many great, like one of my friends, Sabrina from Dinner Then Dessert, she's a, classically trained chef. And I'm over here like, I just, fiddle around in my kitchen, But
Yes.
I think it's great that this is a place where we can kind of have that level playing field. Like we both can create great food and share it with the world.
Yes. So let's talk about that Facebook post that you shared. I want to say it was a month, maybe 2 months ago, that you talked about how you reached a huge milestone, the kind of milestone that food bloggers dream about. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was in November, and I crossed over 2 million monthly page views, which
Per
I
month.
didn't even think I was going to make. I was
Is
blown
that
away.
2 million page views per month?
Yes, 2 million page views per month.
Wow, that is huge.
Yeah, the holidays just took it over. Like everybody was searching for mac and cheese, and I have a great mac and cheese recipe that ranks really well on Google, and it just sort
Ah.
of took off.
So let's talk a little bit about, maybe break that down a little bit to, how you got to that point. Because I can't imagine that from where you started in 2014 to where you were in November of 2017, that it was one big, long, straight line of success. Were
Oh,
there some
definitely not.
times that things, were there times that things felt stagnant and you just thought, I got to throw the towel in. I can't do this.
Yes, many, many times. I think people always think that success is, like you said, that big just upward climb. And it's like, no, you fall
Yeah.
down, you go backwards. There was plenty of times when I would plateau at whatever page view mark it was, and I would be stuck there for a while. And I'd be like, okay, well, clearly what I'm doing is not growing. So I'm going to have to find something else. Like, how am I going to work around this? So I would talk to other people, other bloggers, and it really helps to have a group of people that you can kind of bounce ideas off of, because
Yes.
usually those plateaus will happen when there's an algorithm change or something like that. So you're probably not the only one stuck in that, same page view area. And
So you mean an algorithm change, like some social media has changed and therefore your traffic is stagnant?
right, like, because at the time, most of my traffic was coming from Pinterest up until this past year. And so whenever Pinterest would make a change, it would really affect, my traffic. And sometimes the algorithm would change and it would be in my favor. And sometimes it would definitely not be.
Right. Oh yeah, I like those changes that are in, that work to your benefit. That's really nice.
Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah,
If only
bring
that would
those
happen
on.
all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is like, you would kind of push and get to a point where you were doing very well, but at the same time you wanted to continue growing, and the only way to grow and move forward was, one, to talk to your friends and get ideas, and two, to expand to yet another, maybe it's a different social media, or maybe it's doing more with Google or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. When I realized that Pinterest wasn't something I could really rely on all the time, I started thinking, okay, people are doing these videos on Facebook. So what if I do one of those and just see how it goes? And I did. And actually it went viral, and it's my only
Wow.
viral. It's my only one. I love it. It went crazy, and it actually pushed me over the 1 million page views per month mark in 2016.
Wait a minute. So you're saying your very first video that you put on Facebook went viral?
It did. And I honestly have
Oh
no
my
idea
God.
why. And I didn't make it myself. I absolutely stink at creating video. So I paid someone else to make it for me.
Good
And
investment, huh?
yeah, it was awesome. I'm like, man, if they're all like this, I will give you all my money. Just keep
Yes.
doing it. And it really helped, to kind of branch out. Because at the time at Facebook, I really wasn't doing a whole lot. I would share my post, for the day, and maybe just share a couple others here and there. There was really no schedule. I wasn't doing any video before that. So branching out really opened up new avenues in that way.
So you're saying, I wonder if this is what you're saying, that this video was your way of getting up to 1 million page view a month, or do you say it increased your page views by 1 million more?
Oh no, it got me up to 1 million.
I see. Wow, that's huge. And I imagine since then your Facebook page has grown.
Oh yeah, it's gone like, well, from 2016 up until right now, it's grown like 400%.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't drive a whole lot of traffic, but it looks good to brands, which of course then looks good when you're trying to get sponsored posts, and
Yeah.
it all comes around.
I think that's what gets me frustrated about things like Facebook is like, as I spend time contributing content to their platform, how much of that actually drives traffic to my site. But I see your point. There are other benefits to having an active and vibrant Facebook page.
It is, and it's still frustrating to me because I'll have a video that's doing well, and I'm like, where's the traffic? Because people have to
Yes.
click through to see the actual full recipe. But I think some people try to make the video, the recipe from the video, which kind of
Right.
scares me because there's no like ingredient amounts or anything. So I'm just waiting for
Ah.
the comments to come in about how this didn't turn out. And
It's like we get those even when we do provide specific,
exactly.
instructions. Do you get those too? Oh,
Oh yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, I substituted this,
Yes.
this, and this, and it didn't turn out. I'm like, well, you didn't make my recipe. I don't know. I don't know what to tell
Yeah,
you. I don't know what you
I
did,
try
but
to
it
be as
wasn't what I do.
I try to be as friendly as possible, but sometimes
Uh,
it's, I mean, it could be somebody's oven is not set right, or it could be
yeah.
that, they're on it. There's just so many variables, especially when it comes to baking.
Oh, I know. Those are the worst because I'm like, unless I'm standing there in your kitchen baking with you, it's really
Right.
hard for me to say what went wrong.
Right. I agree so much. But I also think it's interesting, like for myself, if I'm on somebody's site and I do their recipe and it comes out wrong, I almost never think it was the recipe's fault. I almost always think that I did something wrong.
Me
So it
too.
cracks
I'm
me
like,
up.
well, I'm like reading through the instructions, like, what did I miss? I did something wrong.
Yes. Yes.
But people, I think, want to
Yes.
just put the blame on someone else because they don't want to think that they did something wrong, which I think is just human, right?
Yeah,
But
I'm
sometimes
sure
it's
it's
like,
true.
man, I just gave you a recipe for free that I spent like 12 hours making, and you're you're not being very nice.
Yes. So tell me, what do you think were some of the tricks that helped you? I want to kind of stay here focused on these areas of stagnation for a moment, because I think it's something that everybody can relate to. We all hit these plateaus or moments where we're not doing well. And, I would love it if you could just kind of talk a little bit about that and how you pushed through it.
Yeah. Other than going into more of the video on Facebook, I also started looking at what are the popular recipes on my site and how can I create more of those. And I realized people really love slow cooker recipes, and I only had like 3 or 4 at the time. I'm like, well, that's got to change. So I started putting out more slow cooker, and one of them actually took off, and it's one of my most popular posts right now. It surpassed all the other ones.
Wow.
I also, let's see,
I
I'm
assume you
like
use
drawing a
Google
blank.
Analytics to
I
determine
do.
that?
Yeah, I check it way too much. I shouldn't, but I do. I always tell
We all
myself
do.
I'm not going to check, and then I do. Um, but yeah, the other thing that I did was start thinking, and okay, well, if the social media is not going to be a steady form of traffic, then I'm going to need to work at something else. And the other two that you really have better control over are SEO and your email newsletter. Now, my newsletter is terrible. That's on my list to work on this year, but I started working on SEO, and I think it's really, really paid off.
And what does that mean for you when you work on the SEO? Are you doing keyword research?
Yeah, I started using SERPstat, which I think a lot
Okay.
of people use SEMrush, but to me,
Yes.
it's expensive. So I started using
Yeah.
SERPstat instead, and it has a lot of the same features. I can get like 300 keyword searches a day, which is way more than I need. So I do keyword research, and I enrolled in an SEO course, which is called #Jeff.
I've heard about that one. Okay.
He is so effective. Oh my gosh, he's amazing. Like so many times SEO feels like a foreign language, and I know it does to me.
Yeah.
But he really breaks it down and makes it so easy to understand. And there's even a Facebook group where you can go in and ask him literally any SEO question you have, and he'll answer it for
You
you.
know, it's interesting because I kind of was have been in the same boat of not doing a lot of keyword research, and you would hear about these very popular blogs, but I wouldn't often see them in my own search results. And then
Mhm.
I started using keyword search and searching for popular terms, and then I'd say, "Oh, there they are," because they probably have been using keyword research. They're not going after these other terms; they're going for the terms where they can get the traffic.
Right. And it's amazing because, I wouldn't have thought to do keyword research the first 2 years. I don't think I even checked it at all.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, man, I should have because I could have probably been doing really good on these posts. But Oh,
It kind of reminds me of blue ocean strategy, which is a marketing term, and I studied it in business. And they would talk about where, you're as a company, you don't want to be in shark infested waters because that's where there's like a little tiny bit of meat and 1,000 sharks all swimming around it. Because there's
oh
just
yeah.
you just can't do very much with that. But where you want to be is where there's blue ocean, and you kind of have it to yourself. And that's kind of the impression I get with SEO. Do you agree with that?
I do, because I think when you're searching, like I just literally was writing a post on chicken wings. Well, chicken wings has like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of monthly searches. And I
Yes.
looked at what the top, five search results were for those. And I'm like, I'm never going to beat out, all recipes and Food Network and all
Right.
this other stuff. So I said, okay, what if I do baked chicken wings? And like you said, that's kind of the blue ocean over there. Like it's more,
Yes.
there's not as much competition, but it's still
Right.
a decent amount of traffic that I could potentially get a hold of.
Right. And you might even discover a recipe that, it's something you haven't thought about before, but, because I think if yours is like the one that I use, which I think it's like KP Finder or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It actually gives alternatives below the one that you like. So if you did baked chicken wings, it also would provide other things underneath that you could think about.
Yeah, yeah, SERPstat does that too, and it's great because you can see like, wow, I'm surprised that more people don't search for whatever it is,
Yes.
and then sometimes I'll
Spicy baked chicken wings or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like these are things that I would search for, but apparently no one else
Yes.
does, so I know not to name it that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's just a great example of how, you using keywords can really make a big difference. And so you think that's kind of one of the things that really helped take your blog to the next level?
Definitely, because prior to this year, prior to 2017, I think my search engine traffic was like 20% of my traffic, and now it's like 40.
Wow,
Which
that's
is,
a big
yeah, and it
increase.
helped so much. I mean, the course, and then my friend Sabrina from Dinner Then Dessert, she's like a
Yes.
SEO goddess. Like I don't know how she
Yes.
does. She's just amazing. So I'm always like, hey, what are you doing with these lists in your post here? And so we'll kind of bounce ideas back and forth. And I kind of have a formula for my post now where I always want to ask, give tips and tricks, and then kind of ask questions like, well,
Yeah.
how, could I fry these wings instead or something like that? Because that's what people might be typing in Google.
Yes, exactly. Now she posts a lot. She's a friend of the show. She's been on the podcast and she posts a lot. And I'm just curious, has that also been a part of your strategy, is publishing a lot of posts?
I pretty much stick to 2 times a week. Although
Okay.
in quarter four this past, in 2017, I did bump that up to 3, which it's hard to say if it helped or not because none of those posts really took off. It was all older stuff. But it's crazy. I don't know how she does 5 days a week. I mean, because three
I don't.
times a week was just blowing my mind. Like I was like, I have no
Yes.
time.
Yes. It's a lot
But
of work. I mean, I have a spreadsheet and I track how I'm going to be doing my recipes. And so like I'm doing 2 to 3 recipes a week. It's probably more like actually what I do is 2 a week, and then I'll update an old post, or I'll do something different on that third
yeah,
post a week. And just doing 2 a week, I mean, I feel like it's a lot of time.
it is. I mean, it's amazing how long it takes just to sit down and actually write a blog post, which is
I
it's only like
know.
500 words, but somehow it takes like 3 hours for me to write a post.
I feel like the slowest food blogger out there
It's
because
amazing.
it takes me a long time to write.
I think it's because it's not the kind of creative writing that I think a lot of people want to do because you have to pay
Yeah.
attention to how many keywords you're using and oh, don't
Yeah.
use them too much because then Yoast will yell at me and
Yeah.
I can't just sit and write like I want to.
Well, and also I'm paying attention to the tags that I put on the site. I'm also like I have oh gosh, it's co-schedule, and
Mm-hmm.
so then at the same time I do the post, I will actually go in and do the social media shares for that post as well. So it's like every post feels like there's so many steps involved.
There is. It's amazing.
Also, you said that your most recent post didn't take off as much as your old ones. And do you feel like, in some ways, I feel like that's the case lately, that my a newer post will take a little longer to take off?
They do. I don't know if there's something with with Pinterest something has changed with that way, because I used to be able
Yeah.
to get several thousand repins within a couple days of posting something, and now it takes like a week and a half. And I'm
Yes.
just surprised because some of them are like, man, this is prime for the holiday, like this time of
Yes.
year, and it's not going anywhere.
It almost makes you think it would be good to be kind of working ahead a little bit. Like if we could, like now we should be looking at Valentine's Day, if anything,
Yeah,
like,
for sure. I actually just
because
shot a Valentine's Day recipe today.
did you really?
Yeah, for
That's
my
awesome.
second site. It was a drink.
That is so good. I love it. Working ahead is so fun. We started doing this thing where we do what I call recipe week, where I have planned out all the recipes. I cook them. I make sure I'm testing them right, and then we
Mhm.
shoot them and do all that stuff, so that I can try to get it all done in one week, and that way I have the rest of the month to write.
Oh, that's smart. I should do that. I'm like kind of fly by the seat of my pants. Like, I'm going to shoot this today, and then tomorrow, I don't know. Maybe I'll shoot something. Maybe I won't. I should definitely plan it ahead better.
It feels really good. I have to admit, I did that in December and I loved it. And I have this spreadsheet. I'm kind of a gamey kind of person. So my spreadsheet actually helps me track percent done, so that as I'm going through it, I know that I'm 50% done with the month of January, or because I track whether I've tested the recipe. Have I shot the photo? Have I drafted the post? And there's one more thing. I can't think of what the third thing is now, or the fourth thing. But anyway, it tracks all those four things, and that's how I get a percent done for the recipes that I'm using.
Oh, that's
I love
smart.
it.
I kind of do that with paper. Like, I have a paper planner, and I have written in through March what posts I want to have. And then I kind of make a little dot next to the ones that I've already, tested and shot. And I have like 2 weeks ahead, which I'd love to make that like 4 weeks, but somehow it never happens.
It's not easy, but I will tell you, when you have you've got photos all shot and drafts all posted for 4 weeks, there is something that feels really good about that.
Oh, I can imagine.
But
That would be like heaven. I'd be sitting there like, yes.
yeah. Yes, especially now that I'm doing the keyword research, I actually find I enjoy it even more, because now I have the anticipation of seeing what happens after the post goes published, and so it's exciting.
Very cool.
So I feel like you've answered this question, and I just want to clarify, because I posted in the Chopped Bloggers Facebook group that I was going to be interviewing you, and some of the these are some of these are that I'm asking you are questions that I was asked, and specifically it was, when you're at a like if you're a food blogger who has 50,000 page views a month, and you're wanting to get to 100,000, it's probably not a matter of just doubling down and doing the same thing harder. It's really more about scratching your head, talking to other people, finding out things that you can do differently to help you reach the next level.
Yeah, because I feel like if you're probably already working extremely hard to get that 50,000. I know I was at that point. And so doubling down and working harder, I mean, it may help a little bit, but I think what's going to get you the best results is kind of looking outside the box a little bit and seeing, okay, well, if Pinterest isn't working, then how about Facebook? Or if that's not working, let's focus on SEO. And it's worth a shot.
Yes. Because like you say, if that was working, we're working this hard, and if you really obviously need to do something else to get to the next level. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. What social media platform do you think has brought you the best success? I think I know what your answer is going to be.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Pinterest on that one.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does me wrong, but Pinterest in general has really helped a lot. People are so visual and,
Yes.
Bright, colorful, big, pins that really make people hungry. That's gold on Pinterest.
Yeah, and one thing I would have to say in Pinterest's favor is that I feel like they have done a very good job, for the most part, of sharing the love with bloggers, the content creators.
Yeah, they do seem like they try to work with us at least.
Yes. Whereas Facebook, I mean, you got that viral video, but I feel like in the meantime, since 2016, it's a lot harder to get a video to go viral, and for you to, as a blogger, to feel the results of that.
Oh, for sure. Because I've put out videos that I think are better than that first one, and they don't go anywhere. And I'm like, What the heck? I did all the same things, and they just don't show your posts to the people that said they already wanted to see them, which drives me crazy.
Yes, exactly. So Facebook, I think, probably it has potential to be very good for food bloggers, but at the same time, I think what I heard you said earlier is that it looks good to brands. And so there is some reason to spend some time there. I also feel like, I don't know if SEO or SERP is the same as my keyword research tool, but they actually show the amount of time the recipe has been shared on Facebook. So kind of makes me wonder if Facebook isn't part of the algorithm of SEO.
I wonder. I don't know if SERP might have that. I maybe haven't branched into that part of it yet.
Well, sometimes I try to, like, if I'm looking at a post of mine, like let's say I've got a vegan banana cream pie, and if it's in position number 3, and I'm like, how come it's not in position number 2 or 1? And I look at position 2 or 1, and they may not even have as high of domain authority as I do, but they have more Facebook shares or something. I'm always trying to figure out what it is that would help me move up.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if there was something to do with that, because Facebook is so big now. I mean, it's this huge conglomerate. They own like everything. And
Instagram,
it would not surprise me at all.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. So it's probably, I think as much as a food blogger, it might be tempting to kind of pull back from something like Facebook. There is some great potential there. So I think they have to come in a strong second, don't you think?
I think so. Because not for the traffic, but in some ways and you might get lucky. You might have a video or something that does drive traffic, and that's awesome. That's huge, a bonus in the win column there.
That's right. Can you talk for a second about your Pinterest strategy? What is involved there for you? You let's say you created a new post. And what would you do after that? Would you share it immediately to Pinterest?
Yeah, as soon as I hit publish, I go and I share. I pin directly from my site to my blog board on Pinterest. And if you don't have a blog board, you should definitely have one. It helps a lot for your authority, and then what you can do is when you pin it to your blog board, then you can take that pin and you can schedule it out to all of your group boards. Because that activity,
that's how I do it too,
coming through your blog board makes Pinterest think, wow, this person has a lot of activity. They must know what they're doing. And they kind of give you, I think, a little bit more weight in search results.
The same can be done as far as Facebook is concerned too, right? So that you can share your content to your Facebook page and then share it to a bunch of different groups that you're involved in from there, and it helps your particular post on Facebook, have more authority that way too.
Definitely, I usually do that with new videos. I usually send those through. I kind of have a list of like 10 or so recipe groups that they may not have the best, the most amount of followers or whatever in that group, but it has a lot of interaction, and that's what you want, because you want people to share and comment and ultimately click through, which is great. But if not, then at least share it.
Do you have your own group on Facebook as well?
I do, but I feel like I meant to have it be this really engaged place, and I just kind of ran out of time. So it's just kind of there.
Yes, so exactly.
Hopefully my goal is to get that to where we can actually be engaged more. Because right now it's just, I'll post my latest stuff, and a couple other blogger friends will post their stuff, but then there's really nothing else going on.
Yes. Okay. I got you. I feel like I'm being very erratic here on my questions. Like we're like food bloggers here going back and forth. People probably don't know this, but Amanda and I were talking about this before we started that, as a food blogger, oftentimes we'll have like 10 tabs open and each one has a specific task. And then we get back to it and forget what were we going with on that one.
I think it's called food blogger brain. We're all just scattered everywhere.
Well, FBB, that's our condition.
There you go.
But back to Pinterest, I was going to ask you, do you use a tool to schedule to those different boards like a Tailwind or something like that?
I do. I use Tailwind for scheduling all my own pins. And then I also use Board Booster, which is a bit controversial. Some people don't like it. Some people do.
Why is it controversial? I didn't know that.
Well, I think it's because Board Booster is not like Pinterest approved, like Tailwind is. Oh. And some people are worried that if you use Board Booster that Pinterest might ding you. But I've never noticed that. And I don't use it very much. It's just to schedule out, you select other people's pins. But Tailwind,
I think I have. Oh, Tailwind is awesome. Yes. Are you in tribes as well with Tailwind?
I tried to, and I didn't really see a whole lot of interaction with it. So I kind of backed off. but I think now they're starting to be more popular. So I'm not sure if I'll jump in or not.
Well, I think Tailwind, I love their interval scheduling. And that's exactly what I do is I share my post, my newly published post to my Namely Marley board. And then from there I go and I do an interval. So like every day that pin is going out to the relevant group boards.
Yes, that's pretty much what I do too. It's awesome.
And individual boards too. Yeah.
And I just love it because it pins, throughout the night, it just does its thing. I don't have to worry about, oh gosh, I didn't get on and pin today,
Yes. And you know that your queue is full. And I try to share other people's content as well. So yeah, Tailwind's just a breeze. It makes Pinterest such a breeze.
Yes, for sure. Because it can be kind of hard to remember, oh, I need to get on and do this at this time. And then I have to remember to get back on at dinner time because people are on Pinterest then too. And that's too much.
I agree. Okay. So were there any courses or conference or workshops or things like that you feel like kind of pushed you along the way?
I actually I haven't yet to go to a food blogger conference. It's totally on my list to do. I had bought tickets for everything food last year. And then I literally fell and broke my kneecap and dislocated it and all this horrible stuff. So I couldn't, it was still all messed up in May or whatever it is. So I couldn't go. But I will go this year. It's a must do.
Yes.
But that SEO course, hashtag Jeff, do that.
Yes. And it sounds like you made connections with other food bloggers. How did you do that? Did you just, interactions online and then you ended up talking?
Yeah. I was just I don't even remember when several of our friends, we all just we were in groups talking back and forth in comments and we're like, hey, let's just, take this to Messenger. And now, I have a list of group of people that I can email and be like, hey, I'm trying to name this post and I don't have any idea what to name it. Here's the top, keywords. What would you do? And it's great because they'll help out and just vice versa.
I see. So when you say Messenger, I'm assuming you're talking about Facebook.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Facebook.
No, that's great. That is awesome. And so it's almost like a mastermind group in some ways, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a very casual mastermind group. We don't have scheduled calls or anything like that, but it's just, we're always there for each other.
Yes. I love it. Okay. So here's another question that was asked by this group. And that is, if you don't mind talking about it, you don't really need to go. I don't feel like you want to, go into details, but maybe talk about talking about revenue. What is your best stream of income for your blog?
That would be ad network revenue by far.
Yes. That makes sense.
I'm with AdThrive and they are just, their RPMs this past year have been spectacular. I mean, good Lord.
That's awesome.
There in December, I was just staring at my screen I made what yesterday? Oh my gosh.
That's
and then now it's
great.
January, so that's gone now.
Yeah.
But it was nice.
We have to work back to December.
Yeah. I just keep looking back. Last month was better.
Yes.
But, ad networks are great. My other streams of revenue is I have affiliates through Amazon, and those really are nice. At the bottom of every post, I have a helpful tools section. And if I use a certain mixer or, a mandolin for scalloped potatoes or whatever, I lick that there. And people went crazy buying the mandolin over the holidays because they must have been making those scalloped potatoes. And it's those aren't expensive, but they all add up.
Did you use a tool for that? I mean, I know that Amazon offers an ad tool. Is that what you use to create that?
I just go into my, Amazon Associates account and I can, search for the mandolin that I have. And then up in the upper left-hand corner, you can click on the get link button. Yes. And I just put the shortened link in there.
So it doesn't actually have a picture of it. It just, you just mention it.
Yeah, I just mention it. I tried doing pictures and it didn't really seem like it helped anything. So I figured just stick with the link because that's less to load on my site.
Yes, that's great. Simple is always best if you can make it work,
Exactly.
So you talked about ads and affiliates. Do you do sponsored posts as well?
I do. And they were pretty nice this past year. I was surprised because, as your traffic rises, you get more of a reach. And so you can ask for more for sponsored posts. And it got to the point where I'm I couldn't even ask for that. There's no one's going to pay this, and then they did. It's great. I think people are starting to value the reach that bloggers have.
Wow, and then the beautiful thing about that is that you can actually take on a smaller number of sponsored posts and make more.
Yes, because they're great for revenue, but sometimes they just suck the soul right out of you.
They do.
It takes so much time and.
Yes, I had one this year that just asked for so much. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I've had a few of those
Just
too, and it's like, man, you are not paying me enough for this.
that is exactly right. And they just ask and ask and ask, and it's annoying. And then they want to, look at, well, I mean, I kind of understand, and it doesn't really bother me when they want to look at your content before it's published. It's
Right.
just sometimes the back and forth gets a little too much, or, just all the asks just gets
Yeah.
annoying.
Or they nitpick the way that you write. It's like, you know what? I've been writing this way for 3 years, and you said you wanted to work with me based on that. So
Yes.
why are you changing my voice for, yeah,
Yes,
drives me nuts.
exactly. So it would be nice to know that you can take on less and, and make more with it. That's really
For
nice.
sure.
It's a good goal for all of us bloggers to have.
Yes, less and then get more out of it, and then more time to focus on the content that you actually want to be producing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we get a lot of really great questions on this podcast focused on outcomes. But I love this question that was asked in the Chopped Blogger Facebook group. And that is, can we talk about input and specifically tools that you might have invested in that you feel like helped your blog be its best? And, we've talked about a couple already, like Tailwind and, things like that. Is there any tool that comes to mind that, you really felt like has helped you a lot?
Um, let's see. Those are the big ones, but I also pay for the Photoshop monthly subscription. It's only like
Ah,
$10 or
yes.
something,
Yeah.
and it's I can make a great a good photo look great. I can save it, so to speak, in Photoshop, which has helped a lot because people eat with their eyes first.
That's right. Oh, actually, let's talk a little bit about photography. Do you think that helped your site grow so dramatically?
I think so, because I mean, if you look back in like 2014 when I started, those photos are just oh, they're so terrible. I almost don't want you to look, but I still kept them up there because I think it's a good reminder, that this is
Yeah.
where I started and this is where I am now. Because people now, there are so many blogs that are started literally every minute, and you have to find a way to make yourself stand out. And if you're in a sort of a general food blog like I am, I'm not very niche down. I'm just everything is there. I don't have just desserts or whatever. You have to find a way to make yourself stand out from that huge crowd. And I think great photos are a great way to do that.
And there must have been some part of you that actually really liked it, right? That made you feel inspired to want to get better.
Yes, once I
Like in
started shooting,
photography.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. It's my favorite part of food blogging, which I did
That's
not think was
great.
going to be when I first started because you don't think food photography is going to be hard. It just sits there on a plate. It's not running away from me like my kids
Oh,
are,
I know.
but it's
Yes.
so hard. It's very deceiving. So there was a lot of trial and error, lots of, hey, this light looks great. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't. Let's move over here
Yes.
and try it in this room. And
And
you
then
finally,
times of year, like we're both in the Midwest. So
yeah,
the time of year, you think you've got it figured out. You've got this down. And then it's like winter and the sun is in a completely different position and you cannot
yeah.
figure it out anymore.
You're like, well, I
It's
guess I'm moving
annoying.
somewhere else now. I got to go to the kitchen or my bedroom or, because I think I've shot
Yes.
in literally every room of my house,
I have
depending on the
too.
day and the weather.
Yes. Yep. I've been there too. So you didn't take any courses. You just kind of, did trial and error to get better.
Yeah, I read a handful of books here and there, and some of them had
Yeah.
some good tips, but it really wasn't anything that was like earth shattering. It was just a lot of hitting that shutter button and looking at, okay, that turned out bad. So what if I do it this way? And 3 years of trial and error, you end up with something pretty decent.
Yeah, you feel, good about it. I mean, I think there's always room that we can all improve. And sometimes I think I really like bright light photos, but then every now and then I want to try a dark shot or whatever. So,
Hmm.
but I think it's impressive. Your photography is beautiful, and it obviously, is really reached your audience well. So, I mean, that's great.
Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy because, like you said, sometimes you're gravitated towards a certain type of photo and then you change your mind. Like,
Yeah.
I tried some dark photos for a while and I liked them, but I found they did not do well on Pinterest for me. So
Yes.
I kind of was like, well, I can either do this and, like the photos or do this, bright photo and like them too, but it also does well, which means I get more money and more traffic. So I'm going to go
Yes.
with bright.
Yep. And I think there is something. I think I talked to Ali Ebright, who she's from the site Give Me Some Oven,
Mhm.
and she talked about how for her, she just kind of stumbled on this, letting the food be the forefront. She doesn't do a lot of props. She just has, the food is really well lit, and she does a lot of styling with the food. And that just felt really good to her. And I learned from that, like, okay, I don't really need to worry about what other people are doing. I honor their process, but at the same time, what works best for me? What do I feel really good about? So I think I'm getting the same message from you as well.
Definitely. Everyone kept saying, oh, you need to find your photography style. And I'm like, how do I do that? It was driving me crazy. And then I started realizing, that's just something that you don't even realize you have a photography style. It's when someone else looks at your stuff and they're like, hey, that's Amanda's photo, or that's Marley's picture. And they just know, because it's stuff that you don't even realize. It's just the way that you naturally set up the shot and the light. And all of a sudden it just develops over time. And there you've found yourself a style that works.
Yeah, it's like you need to quit trying so much and just do, and then that's where it comes from, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yoda knows all. Okay, so I'm just dying to ask you about a 5:00 chef. So what made you're doing so great with Chunky Chef? What made you decide you wanted to start 5:00 Chef?
I think I'm honestly crazy. I don't know why I thought I had this time, but I was doing a lot of cocktails kind of in advance for the Chunky Chef, and I thought, there's really not a whole lot of cocktail blogs out there. There's some, and they're good. They're great, but it's not as huge of an industry as food blogging. So I'm like, well, I wonder if I can just kind of get in over there, and I'll try to take these cocktail recipes and put them on a separate site. And I only post once a week. It's really low key. I've even missed weeks here and there. It's definitely not structured like the Chunky Chef, but it's been a lot of fun. Because I love creating drinks and fun little bar snack kind of foods, and it's kind of a good outlet for that.
That's great. And I have 2 sites, so I know there's a lot of work involved. Do you find it hard to have 2 sites time-wise?
It does. It is. Like I was so used to shooting and then posting twice a week on the Chunky Chef, and now I have to add this extra post in. And sometimes I'll be sitting there on a Tuesday night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't write my post yet for the for the 5:00 chef, because I'm thinking I'm good to go until Thursday. So there's a lot of time management involved.
I completely agree. And probably trying to stay organized. Do you try to figure out what recipes you're going to be doing for quite a ways out? Does that help you with having 2 sites?
Yeah, I usually try to shoot for having things planned out, not necessarily tested and shot, but planned out at least, like 1 to 3 months.
That's good.
Like I have everything from now to March, and it's like great to know, okay, I know I'm doing this, and this, and then I can, if I have extra time, I can work ahead. And if not, at least I know what I'm doing next week.
And let me just clarify, you're doing all your own photos and editing those photos yourself?
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. I just love editing so much that I tend to edit more than I need. Like I only need 3 photos, pretty much, but I end up editing the whole batch of them. And I'm like, wait, I just wasted all this time. But,
yes,
well.
I love the editing part too. I can get a little too minute in it. And so Sean and I now do the food photography together. And I love working with him because, first of all, he's a minimalist when it comes to how many photos should we take. Yes. Let's not take 100 photos. And because then we have to, like you say, edit them. So we probably take maybe 10 to 15 photos per post. And then from there, we choose which ones we're going to, and then we, he'll edit maybe 4 for the post itself.
Yeah, I usually shoot around 10. For a sponsored recipe post, I usually do about 15 just in case. Yes. Sometimes they have weird requirements or something. But yeah, usually about 10. But then I need to do like you do. I need to just edit the 4 that I'm going to use. But instead, I edit all 10. But they're there if I need them.
It's kind of like, it's not mind numbing, but it doesn't feel like it requires a lot of mental work to edit photos. So yes. I totally get that. Yeah.
I usually do that in the evening when my husband's watching TV or playing video games, and I'm just over there editing away. And then I'm like, oh, it's like way past our bedtime. We have to go to bed now.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have any tools that you think that helps you manage 2 sites? So let me give you an example of what I do. Like I have my iPhone is set up for everything, namely Marley, and my iPad is set up for everything Chopped. Do you do anything like that? Or I'm just curious if you have any time saving tips for 2 sites.
I do that with Instagram. I have my tablet is for the 5:00 chef, and then my phone is for the Chunky Chef. But for
Yeah.
everything else, I just have one big giant paper planner and I color coordinate it. So the Chunky Chef is pink and the 5 o'clock Chef is
Okay.
blue. And then
Got
that way
it.
I know what I'm doing for which site.
Do you just print out a monthly, the calendar, or do you have a planner that's specific for food blogging? What planner do you use?
I use, it's called Plum Paper Planner, which is really hard to say. But
Yes.
they have a variety of ones, but the one I use is called My Everything, or ME. And it's set up like there's a monthly view, and then each day is morning, afternoon, and evening, which is kind of how I block out my day anyway. So then
Yeah.
I write in what I'm doing and which section.
Yeah, I love it. And now, are you happy with the way 5 o'clock Chef is working? Is it growing as fast as the Chunky Chef did?
I think it's growing a little slower just because I do one post a week instead of starting out with
Yes.
two. But it's
Hmm.
still growing pretty well. I had a cocktail recipe do really well over Halloween. And then I had some kick back up again for New Year's Eve, which was great. So hopefully I can continue that for the major, drinking holidays, basically.
Yeah. Do you
Sounds
cross
bad,
share
but
between the two? Yeah. No, I
yeah,
get
I do
it.
sometimes. I have kids, so I have to drink. Um,
Yes.
they do this to me. But yeah, I
Yeah.
usually will link between the two. Like, hey, on my taco recipe, you should drink that with this, and then I'll link to the 5 o'clock Chef, and sort of vice versa.
Perfect. And that's so nice because it helps both sites that way, right? With the SEO stuff. Yeah.
Definitely, especially because the Chunky Chef has such domain authority that when I link to the 5 o'clock Chef, it hopefully to Google is looking really good.
Yes. So I'm curious, do you have any like a virtual assistant of any kind that helps you?
I actually have two. I
Okay.
have one that I use like a virtual assistant service, and they do a lot of my social media promotion during the week only. And then I have an individual assistant, and she does stuff during the week as well as the weekend, because the weekend's kind of, I still work sometimes, but it's mainly for my family.
Right.
And if I'm spending hours and hours doing all these Pinterest threads, it just takes all the time away.
Right. So the VA helps with that, following through or following up on questions and things like that.
Yeah, I usually, I add my links to all the, Facebook sharing threads and all those things, and then she goes in and completes them for me.
Nice. I love that. I love the idea of having people who help because I feel like there's only so much that we can do in a day, and I also feel like for me particularly, like I can spend my time doing things that are more not important, but because everything is important, I feel like, but
Yeah.
I can spend my time on things that maybe will bring more revenue to my operations rather than filling out the information on sharing on social media and things like that.
Yes, for sure. And if you look at the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, they're surrounded by an amazing team. And I think
Yes.
it's important to do that for yourself. Even if, your business is small right now, it's still important because you have to have people that you can rely on. And maybe you're not great at social media promotion. I know I'm not. It's definitely not my strongest suit. So I pass that off to somebody who can handle it way better than I could.
Yeah, I read the book. I've got to think of the name of it now. It's left me. It's just sitting right here next to me. Oh yeah, The Big Leap by Gay
Ah,
Hendricks, and he
yeah.
talks in there about how we have these different competencies, and basically, it's very easy to fall prey to doing things that we feel competent about. And then we kind of get stuck doing them, and then the next thing you know, it's like because I think we get like I kind of get the good feeling out of like, you're talking about editing photos. I get that
Hmm.
good feeling because I did it and it's done and I can see the results of it. But that just because I can do it doesn't mean that I should be doing it. It probably means, somebody else can do it just as well.
Right. And I think it's important to, like you said, your strengths. And sometimes maybe your weakness is an area that you can move into and that can, bring you up even higher because you never
Ah,
know. Like I said, with the Facebook thing, Facebook was totally my weakness. I didn't do anything with it and I moved into it and, it just took off.
wow, that's great. I mean, thank you for sharing that because I do think it's easy to kind of procrastinate about something that I don't know much about or don't want to do and just dive right in there and do it is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah. I mean, the worst that can happen is it doesn't work out. And
Right.
then you say, okay, well, that didn't work. So let's try something else instead.
Right.
I look at failure as like a total opportunity. It's not a bad thing.
Oh, and I think actually that's been proven time and time again, especially for people who are creatives, that they need to give themselves permission to fail,
Hmm.
and you can just pick yourself up and move right on.
And it's hard. I mean, it's hard sometimes because I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to go exactly as
Yeah,
planned and work out perfectly. And, that doesn't happen very often. So
yeah,
it's hard
not
to
always.
accept that. But then you're like, well, you know what? I bet the other successful people in this industry, I bet they failed before too.
Yes. Okay, so let's imagine that you are going back to your 2014 self and you're just now getting ready to start your blog. What is the one thing that you would love to tell yourself that knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 2014 self?
Wow, that's a hard one. Just do it. Don't put it off until you think the photos are perfect or you think you have a backlog of recipes. Just dive in and start because there's nothing worse than something that you haven't even started yet.
Yes, I love this advice. I think you and I are kind of the same on this one because I'm somebody can sit there and talk to me about things all day long, but I'm a trial and error kind of person. I have to I think they call it a kinesthetic learner. I have to do it to learn it. And I
Yes.
think that's what I'm hearing you say is just get it. You'll figure it out as you get in there and just do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better way to learn than when you're in the midst of it, writing a
Yeah.
post and Yoast is over here telling you, "Hey, do this, do this." Well, that's you're learning as you're typing.
Yes. I love it. Okay, so I have these fun questions I love to ask people at the end of the interview. Are you game?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, what's one food item you cannot live without?
Oh man, I have so many. This is why I'm the chunky chef. Uh, uh, I'm going to go with garlic though because I add it to so many things.
Oh, it's just a perfect flavor, isn't it? It just
It
adds so
is.
much.
I feel like sometimes people can they walk in our garage and they're like, "Whoa, Amanda's cooking with garlic," because I always add more than the recipe calls for. I love it.
You love garlic.
Yes,
And what about, do you ever put it in raw, like in dips and things like that too?
I do, but I've learned to do that sparingly because I found out the
Yes.
hard way that it can be really intense and very like spicy almost.
Yes.
Raw, yeah, I found out that I was like dipping bread in oil with garlic and stuff, and it was like, whoa.
I know sometimes I will even saute garlic before I put it in hummus just because it's just it's softer flavor.
Oh, for sure. Or like I always keep a jar of pre-roasted garlic that I've done ahead of time.
Like a confit,
And
is that what you mean?
sort
Like,
of, it's just like I just, I roast a head of garlic and then I'll just put it all into a little mason jar and keep it in my fridge. And then
what a
I
great
kind of just add
idea.
it. Yeah, because when I notice that our garlic is starting to go a little soft, like I'm not going to be able to use it much longer, I just go ahead and roast it because then I've got it throughout
And
the
then it's
week or whatever.
perfectly cooked. You don't have to worry about because you don't want to burn it and all that stuff. So, oh,
Yeah,
that's a great idea. I'm going to do that, Amanda.
it's so good. Roasted garlic
Do you
is
have
like,
that on the Chunky Chef somewhere as a
I
tip?
do. It's a roasted garlic hummus recipe, and then within that, there's like a how to roast garlic and keep it in your fridge kind of thing.
I love it. Okay. Well, you've helped me a lot. I love it. We'll have to call this a cooking podcast now.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's the favorite app on your phone?
Um, Probably Facebook because it's how I connect with my family and friends for the most part.
Ah, great. Okay, that's good. And you use it. I mean, it's so all purpose because if you're like me, you're in a ton of food blogging groups, and so you
Mhm.
can get updates on what's the latest in food blogging, but at the same time connect with your family and friends and your audience. It's everything.
Definitely. I mean, it's such a great community. I found the food blogging community, and half of the people that I've connected with professionally, they're now on my personal friends list. Like we,
Oh,
connect and watch, see each other's pictures of their
yes.
kids, and it's just so great.
I love that too. Yeah. Okay. It sounds like you have so much going on. I can't even imagine I'm asking you this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you have any time for TV at all? And if you do, do you have a favorite show you can share with us?
I do. I actually, I pencil in time for me to watch TV during the day. Does that sound
Oh,
bad?
no, it's sweet.
Because I know I'm going to do it anyway. So if I put it on my to-do list, I won't feel guilty about it.
Yes.
I love The Walking Dead. So I've been, I watch that. We stream so we don't have to see it live. So like on Monday morning when it comes out, I'll watch it during the day.
I see. So you record it and then you watch it later?
Yeah, because we don't have like a satellite or cable. We just stream through Netflix and Amazon.
Oh, got you. I have found that that has spoiled me so much so that when I'm watching a show on regular TV, which I almost never do, but and there's commercials, it just drives me crazy.
Oh, I can imagine. I wouldn't even know what to do. Like those 30 seconds, I'd be like, what is going on? I can't watch my show.
Yes, it's how do I push fast forward past this commercial? I can't stand it.
Yes.
So, how many seasons of there are there on The Walking Dead?
I think we just wrapped up the mid-season finale of season 8, I believe. And I think they've already announced that 8.
Okay.
Yeah, 8. And then they've already announced they're going to have like another 2 or 3 at least. So
okay.
I'm good. I hope that they just keep it going.
Because it's that good. Now, do you do other things as you're watching it, or is it just like your special time?
Yeah, I'm a multitasker. I can't help it. Like I'll usually edit my photos or something that's a little bit, like you said, more mindless, so to speak,
Yes.
While I'm watching or I'm on my phone. My husband gets annoyed.
Yes.
He's like, why aren't you just watching TV? Like, because I have too much to do.
I know. I love multitasking too, because oftentimes I feel like, I don't know, like they say 100 words that I only need 10 of. So
Exactly. Like, I got the gist. Let's just keep going.
Yes. The only problem is one of my favorite shows is Jane the Virgin, and they have a lot of Spanish going on in that show, and I'm trying to learn Spanish, so I definitely don't want to miss anything in that show because I want to read the subtext and see if I can float, if I'm getting it right or things like that. So
that would definitely make me watch, because I love foreign languages. I took Spanish in high school, but I don't remember any of it.
Really, I have okay. So I have Audible. Do you have Audible?
Yeah.
And I downloaded a book called, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to look up it as I'm talking to you, but it's Spanish lessons basically.
Okay.
And this guy is so good on how he does it. And it's called Paul Noble.
Oh, no. I'm totally writing this down right now.
So Spanish with Paul Noble is his name, and he just does a very good job of breaking it down. I feel like I've gotten more in Spanish than I have out of years of. I've taken private lessons, I've done all these things, and I feel like I've learned a lot more with this. And I'm only on version 1. I'm actually going back through and going through. I think it's like book 1 again, just so I want to make sure I have it down before I go on to the next level.
Oh wow, that's cool though. It sounds like he really has a way of getting in there and teaching you.
Yeah, I mean, he claims that he's teaching you kind of like as children are taught a new language, so that you're not trying to sit there and memorize vowels and
oh gosh, yes,
and verbs and things like that. He kind of just does it by, I don't know, subliminal messaging. I don't know. It's really good though. It helps.
That's cool. I'll definitely check that out.
Cool. Maybe one of these days we can do Spanish together.
We could have a Spanish episode.
I love it. Muy bien.
Oh gosh, that would be so funny. People would be like, what are they saying?
I also love that. Okay, one more thing on this. I also love that he does both the Latin American pronunciation and the Spanish pronunciation, because in Spain, they don't say like the word cinco is 5, or gracias is a good example. They would say gracias. And as I mentioned to you before, I grew up, I was both a stutterer and a lisper, and I could never say my S's right. I took speech therapy to learn not to say the. And so I think I was supposed to be born in Spain. That's what I think.
I think that's just the whole explanation.
Yes. So
like, I don't have a lisp, I'm just Spanish.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Back to food blogging. How can people find you online?
Well, obviously my website, thechunkychef.com or the5o'clockchef.com. I'm also
and you're
on
that all across social media?
Yep, all across social media, Pinterest, Twitter, even though I'm not really on Twitter, but Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, well, Amanda, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me. I had a great time.
Oh, I'm so welcome. I've had a blast.
Thanks to Amanda Batcher for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. Be sure to sign up today for the Chopped Academy newsletter by going to chopped.academy and then scroll down to the bottom of the page and hit subscribe. That is the way that you'll get any specials that we have going on with our courses or webinars or anything coming up. You'll be the first one to hear about it. Thanks to everyone for your support of the Chopped Podcast. Your reviews on iTunes and Stitcher make such a big impact. They really help the show out a lot. It takes only a few seconds of your time, and it means so much. You inspire me, and I hope today's episode was helpful and inspirational to you as well. Now go forth and be your best you.